the ground shake.
Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Page Media, where we amplify underrepresented voices and turn pages into platforms. This conversation is all about journey, purpose, and owning your voice. We didn't say that fast. I'm excited to introduce Dr. Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell, an author, attorney, and speaker. She is dedicated to helping professionals and entrepreneurs elevate their lives with intention and purpose. Welcome, Lynita.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here on your show.
Of course. Thank you for making it. I really appreciate it. So you know what? Let's just jump right into it. For those that are meeting you for the first time, can you introduce yourself and share a little about the work you do as an author, attorney, and speaker?
Absolutely. So I have been very blessed in my life to have many different avenues that have brought me here to you. But for most of us, if we're honest, we know that the moment that we realize our calling, it comes from a place of hitting the bottom of the pool. There's pain. And I am no exception to that. I remember very vividly 29th of 2013 being sent straight from what was to be an exploratory doctor's appointment to figure out what was wrong, to being sent straight to the emergency room and told, we have to operate on you right now because if your bowel ruptures, you could die.
Oh,
Right. And I'm going to tell you, the world stopped for me because I, as a practicing attorney, as a CPA, as a minister who has supported and been there and guided other people through all the things that need to be done in order to have their business taken care of, I committed the cardinal sin that most women, and particularly Black women, commit. I took care of everybody else and not myself. And I was on my way to surgery, and I did not have any of my business laid out. I had a 6-year-old daughter, no custody papers as far as what happens to me should I not wake up. I had a business, no instructions as to what happens with my clients who are in progress. I had no information as far as what would happen for my home and the succession of it. Did not have a will, no list of bank accounts, none of the things that we all know need to be in place, but we just don't do because we believe that we have so much time. And that was the first time that I realized that I needed to speak loudly about what was going on. And it's interesting because that weekend was supposed to be my book signing for my first book, which was called Leading Through Living, a guide for women seeking growth through leadership. I know I'm supposed to be launching a book about leadership and I was not leading in my own life, right?
That happened.
So God has a way of sitting you down so that you can be in order. So that when you're standing in front of people, when I was standing in front of people, I would be coming from a place of genuineness, authenticity, and transparency. And I will tell you that for me, it was quick, and God didn't have to spank me twice. Okay, I got myself together once I came through that surgery. And even though the road to recovery from stage 4 endometriosis was a hard one, and I had 2 more brutal surgeries to go and horrible medications to deal with, that was one area of my life I can say that I dealt with immediately. I got insurance. I got my will together. I transferred my home into a trust. I made sure that there were appropriate custodianship as well as guardianship for my daughter, and I had everything as far as the succession planning for my business in place. But it's interesting because you would be shocked at the number of people who are just like me in every other industry, where we've taken care of other people and not ourselves. But I'm going to tell you that is where your power comes from. Your purpose comes from not being embarrassed to speak on these things. And so I am so grateful when I have an opportunity to sit down with amazing professionals like yourself to share this, because it's not a pretty picture that I am painting, and it is no less painful to share today than it was those years ago, but it's absolutely necessary to have these conversations in our communities.
You're
So
right.
thank
And we don't talk about it enough. For
you.
some reason, in like you said, in our community, if we're gonna keep it 100, for some reason, when you bring up will, somebody automatically thinks, oh, well, you're just talking about death. Like, no, you're preparing. You have to do those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we think it's just about death, but it's about continuity, it's about legacy.
Mhm.
It's continuing a tradition of excellence that you and your forefathers and foremothers established. It's ensuring that the stories continue. The
Mhm.
work that you have done, that the next generation has an opportunity to build upon it instead of starting from scratch.
Exactly.
And for a lot of people, we believe that it costs so much money. But what I have found, and this is the truth, you're either going to pay it yourself on behalf of the next generation, or they're going to pay it when they go through probate.
Mm.
Because please understand that the system was built for a payment to be made, and nobody gets around it.
So we might have to have you talk just to have another one just to talk about wills and probate and all of that, because I believe that this is something that people need to hear. And like you said, we don't talk about it enough. So okay, you cut out a little bit when you said the date that this all occurred. When was that again?
Right. This was May 29th of 2013.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be the weekend of my book signing for my first book.
Okay, so Live Life, that one is actually your second book then?
That is actually my sixth book.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes. Live Life on Fire, the ultimate guide to a successful life full of peace, joy, and fulfillment. I wrote that on the other side of through. And
Nice.
so, yes. And so it is a collection of methodologies that I use to this day to ensure that I stay focused on what is actually important in life. That success is not defined by cash, clothes, cars, and property.
Mhm.
It is defined by how we live a joyful and peaceful life, and then those other things will come. Because please understand, I like having a roof over my head. I like having these lights come on. I like having internet, right? So I'm not saying that you should just throw it all away and walk away. Please understand that's not where I'm coming from. Rather, I am saying that when we focus our attention on being the best version of ourselves possible, the real version of ourselves, not the ones that we have to code switch to survive in this world, that then people feel that, they see that, they're inspired by that, and then they'll follow us anywhere. They will want to do business with us. But it all starts within, it starts with self.
That is so true. Okay, so we're on our sixth book.
Yeah.
What first drew you to writing?
Yeah, so I was in a place in my life where I had a quiet moment. I have them much more frequently now, but in the beginning of my career, I was very focused on accolades, achievements, designations, certifications, education. And so I did not have a whole lot of grass growing under my feet. I was always busy. And there was this quiet moment of about 2 weeks where I had rolled off my boards and I was about to roll on to some other projects, where I went to a vision board and I was inspired, and God told me I would write a book. And it would be based on how I was able to navigate a an unforgiving terrain between corporate America and community leadership and merge the two. And so that's where my first book came from. It was my experience of joining a firm during a merger where everybody's scared that they're going to lose their jobs. So, of course, they're not trying to train a newbie and spend time like that. So, I know that some people would say that there were any of the isms, race, color, creed, etc. And it's not to say that that was not the case. It's just that I did not experience that as the reason that I was not being trained, mentored, developed.
Okay.
What I experienced was a group of people who were terrified that they were going to lose their jobs in an economy that was not all that forgiving.
Okay.
And so I had to figure out a way that I would still get experience and exposure and build my professional network as a new person in corporate life, in employment. This was my first job post undergrad, right? I'm 22 years old. And so I started volunteering. And you know, when you start volunteering, you have an opportunity to try things you never did before.
Mhm.
You have an opportunity to make mistakes that are normally not life altering or career ending, which is great. People get to see you in a way that is just genuine. They get to see you in your natural element and they get to like you. And when people like you, they want to work with you.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened, because there were people who were either affiliated with or worked directly with my company who saw me out and about. And then they were like, well, you know what? Let me just put you on a project. The first couple projects didn't go all that great because, again, I had no experience, but I had a good attitude. I learned quickly. And then on that third one was where I rocked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. Okay. So you mentioned some of the challenges that you went experienced along the way, especially with the lack of training and things of that nature. Now, as far as book writing, what
Yes.
challenges do you feel like you faced in that aspect?
Yeah, so the first challenge is time.
Mhm.
I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like writing a book is the easiest thing you'll ever do. The writing is the easiest part of the process, because even though there are challenges, sitting down, getting your thoughts together, ensuring that the voice is consistent, ensuring that the information that you're sharing is something that is useful and valuable to the person who is going to receive it, not just you who wants to give it. Once all of that is done, you still have to package it in a way that is pleasing. So that's the cover, that's the synopsis. You have to market it. So that's websites and bios and pictures and interviews like this one. And then there is actual getting out there and getting on stages to talk not just about the book, but the educational components, whether it's courses, webinars, workshops, seminars, uh, e-courses, whatever it is you're going to do, so that there's reinforcement. Because when I wrote my first book, I didn't know any of this, right?
Right.
I just knew God said, write a book, which I did, put it out there, and then people started inviting me to come and speak in their organizations. And then people said, well, what about after the book? And it never crossed my mind that there would be a desire for after the book, that people would want community, that they would want to learn more. And so I was building as I went. And so now that I know those things, I can say honestly, once you write your book, you got to get a good editor. You need to get a good graphic designer for your book cover and for all of your collateral. You need to have somebody else other than you managing your social media. You do need to check in from time to time, but you can't spend all your day playing on Facebook, Insta, and TikTok. You can't do it, because you need to be doing the income building and the enterprise building that is going to surround the business. So that is getting on stages and speaking. That is community partnerships, things that you actually care about, not just things that you feel will get you in front of the most people, right? You also want to ensure that the collateral that you're building to support this book and the teachings are quality, right? So, and again, these are not things that I knew. You need to establish a place for your community. And I know that there are some people who would probably try and cancel me for this, but this is the truth. It can't just be on Facebook. That is not your platform. It is free, and that means that since you didn't pay for it, somebody can absolutely take it away. I have seen creators who have lost everything because they were on somebody's platform and somebody got mad, and then for whatever reason they were reported, and then their community was closed. You're going to have to put an investment behind that, and you're going to have something that you pay for so that somebody can't come and just take it over. But these are things that, nobody really talks to you about. And I'm telling you. I'm telling you because I've seen it or I've experienced it myself.
And that's the reason behind my platform too. And that's why I do these YouTubes and all of the things that I post, because like you said, I didn't know either. I didn't know half of the stuff like what you just mentioned when you're just starting out. And a couple years, to me, ChatGPT, AI, all this stuff is kind of new. Back a little bit, couple years ago, they didn't have this like it does now, to where you had to just kind of fumble around and figure it out yourself. Like you said, figure it out as you go. So that is great advice. Very good advice. Do you think there was ever a moment where you considered giving up? And if so, what kept you going?
So yes, there were many moments, mostly because my books were always what I consider to be a download. Some people use the term channeled, some people use the term prophecy, but they were always downloads straight from the divine. The way that I work when I write my books is I don't sit at the computer and write. Literally, I'll get this feeling, and normally I'm walking or I'm in the car by myself, and I will hit the record button on. I use a couple of apps. One of them is called Voice Recorder, and the other is called Speak. But Speak is spelled SPIIK. And I'll just start talking, and it's just flowing through me. And then when it stops, it stops. And then when I go back to pretty it up so I can give it to my editor, I'll then drop in specific examples of things that I've experienced many times within my business. Because and please know, I know this is not about estate planning. I just want people to understand where my experiences come from. I deal with a lot of different type of people through my law firm. And so I get to see things firsthand and experience them firsthand. And so a lot of my examples are coming from that. Now, of course, I do exactly what I'm supposed to do with ensuring the privacy of my clients, including myself, because I talk about myself a lot. But I think it is important that people know that these are real scenarios that have happened, and that you can't just dismiss them out of hand, because then that makes the information that they are getting much more valuable. And it's a lot easier to accept when they know someone has already gone through it. And so once I have those examples, and then I can give it to the editor. Well, the challenge then is that sometimes I have dry spells. Like I wrote Live Life on Fire back in 2022. And I have another book that is to come out, How to Be Your Own Guardian Angel. And it's about prioritizing yourself so that you can live a life that is pleasing to you, pleasing to others, but you don't feel all pressed upon and wore out, right? But that book has still not come. And so there's the family life, there is community life, there is work life, and then there's this book that still needs to go. And just being candid with you, because I know the work that it takes to push that baby up the hill, I'm not in all that big of a rush, because I was supposed to release it last April, then I pushed it to this January, and then I pushed it to March, and March doesn't look like it's going to happen. And it is going to happen, but it's just not right now. And I know some people are just, yeah, I mean, it has to be, right? It has to be.
And that, I think too, a lot of times we don't give ourselves the grace that we need to when we don't hit that timeline or what have you that we set. If sometimes
Yes,
we can feel like we're failing because we didn't get it out like we said, but you do have to give yourself that grace because you are wearing many hats, and sometimes life happens, and it's just like, okay, well, if God has pressed it on my part, it's gonna come out. It's just not right now.
that's right. Not right now.
um, okay, so you told me what inspired it. What do you think, or what message do you hope readers walk away from reading your most recent book?
So, the biggest message that I want people to know when they read Live Life on Fire, the ultimate guide to a successful life full of peace, joy, and fulfillment, is that the only person who is shocked that you have skills, gifts, talents, and abilities is you. The people that you are supposed to be in divine communion with. So, these are your friends, these are the people that you are committed to in relationship, whether it's by marriage or some other form of committed relationship that you have, your children, your clients and business partners. They all see the light that is in you, and you don't serve yourself or anybody else trying to dim it. It is the moment where you realize that you have these special things about you and that they manifest in certain ways that are particular to you, that allows you to serve in the most excellent and dynamic ways when you don't stifle them. That's when your life will be on fire. That's when it is all working for you. That even the things that come up hard and heavy, you realize that they were just for you. And that's when you will really start to enjoy this journey. Because I know that it can be hard. I know that people can be ugly. I know that sometimes that you can just feel heartbroken, but you also know that those are not all times. That is not end of time. That it is just a defined moment. And this book helps you to remember that and to use what you learn from those hard moments to then get you to the next thing, whatever that is for you.
I like how in the book you broke down the SQ and the EQ. That was
Yes.
really helpful. I was like, okay, I never thought of it that way.
Yes. And it's interesting because Live Life on Fire and the book prior to it, which was Knocked Down, Set Straight, they were 4 years apart. But it's a continuation because Knocked Down, Set Straight, I laid out EQ, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, intellectual intelligence all come together for the aggregate intelligence, right?
Okay.
And so when you have the aggregate, that is the scientific basis of how to live life on fire. Because once you have all of these in place, then your spiritual gifting can come up and you can feel authentic and genuine in it and not afraid of persecution. Because if we're honest, that is something that many of us have faced, being people of faith, being people of spirit, wherever we show up. Sometimes there are people who try to stifle that and snuff that out. And so it's a lot easier to just be quiet and to not show up in the genuine place of who we are. But my book teaches you how to do so in a way that honors yourself and the other person sitting across from you so that the life that you want to live, the one that is successful, peaceful, joyful, fulfilling for you, can come to pass.
I love it. So, how would you say you're writing your book? So I know we're on number 6. Um, but how would you say that writing this particular book has changed you personally or professionally?
Yeah, in every way. So before this book, my main focus was, and I still do quite a bit of residential real estate. Um, I was introduced to the industry right out of law school. It came to me like a duck in water. I love the people. I love the transactional nature of it. But I knew that I needed to grow. And when estate planning was calling me, I initially ran. And then I'm just being honest with you. I was serving as the president of the foundation for the Georgia Association for Black Women Attorneys. And we started a program through a civil pro bono project that created and implemented estate plans for people who were terminally ill. And so not only did I learn how to do it, but we were doing it for other people. And I loved, I'm talking about passionately loved the program, loved the work we were doing, but still ran away from it. Okay. So that was back in 2008, 2009. Fast forward to 2013, like I told you, had no documents of my own in place, even though I had been doing all this work for other people and knew the consequences of not having it. And launching this book on leadership, right? That's when things shifted for me because I realized that for all the things that I told God that I wanted and the life that I wanted to live, that it was going to require a an extra offering, one that required me to live in a genuine space and speak in that as well. And so that was the beginning for me. Fast forward to this past book, Live Life on Fire, that is the manifestation of what living in a genuine, transparent life looks like. And so I'm very clear that it wasn't easy. It is not easy. But the fruit of it it is undeniable.
Right. Being that
So that
authentic, genuine self, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That fruit
So
is very tasty.
yeah, yeah. So that's the difference. That's the transition. It's the implementation of the work that I did in my own life
Right.
and seeing the results of it years later. And for other people to be able to see it too, to be able to say, okay, I see that this has worked for another human and that it has not been all oh, how does it go? Lollipops and gumdrops? Yeah. but it was and it is joyful.
And I think that's the key, right? Is just sitting in it and being transparent and you know, going through it's hard, but like you said, it is peace and on the other side. So looks like we're running out of time. I want to first and foremost thank you for taking the time out to share your journey and your voice. Can you please let everyone know where they can connect with you and support your work?
Absolutely. So for my books, they are all available on my website, which is my name, LynitaMitchell-Blackwell.com, spelled Lynita, Mitchell-Blackwell.com. And we can link up on all social media platforms. As I mentioned earlier, I have an awesome team that actually does the posting, but I do look at my messages. I go through from time at least twice a week, and I look at any messages or inboxes that you send for us to connect, for me to come speak in your organization. Please just send me a message on my website, and I am happy to do so.
Awesome. Well, to our Beyond the Page media community, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this conversation. Until next time, keep writing, keep rising, and remember your story matters. Dr. Mitchell-Blackwell, thank you again for your time. You have a great evening. Guys, see you next time.
Thank you.